the best sound ever. Good morning and welcome everybody to this, if you're on the East Coast, 9 a.m. Thursday session, facilitating problem definition virtually using challenge mapping with the fantastic Tim Basadur, who's going to lead us through challenge mapping. Some of you may have heard about it. Some of you may have experienced. I am fascinated and I can't wait to be here for this session. So without any further ado, Tim Basadur, the live and in person, virtually.
You have built me up so much in the session that I am now riddled with self-doubt and trepidation. All right, but I'll do my best. We'll see. All right, so maybe a good way to start would be if you're familiar with challenge mapping, if you could maybe drop in the chat that fact. Let me know if, have you been to one of our sessions before on challenge mapping? Have you done it, or never seen it, don't know, like what is, I didn't even know I was coming for that. What are you talking about? Okay, brand new, never seen it. All right, new, all right, good. So this is doing a lot for me, because I designed this for you, for people who have not seen it before. So if it doesn't work for you, you need to let me know, because I did a terrible job of designing this session. It was meant for people who haven't done it before. So, Doug, good question. How about we'll cover that question about strategy mapping at the end. So, towards the after we go through it and do a dive in, we can talk about it then, because right now I'm not 100% sure what exactly strategy mapping is. There's so many different mapping tools and processes out there, and right now it's not ringing a bell for me. So why don't I just dive, and by the way, I'll share my slides. There's not many, but I'll share my slides with anyone who wants them afterwards, so no need to concern yourselves with it. All right, but so just a quick agenda. I'll introduce myself a little bit, go through sort of problem definition and challenge mapping in the Basadur version of the creative problem solving process. Go through a little bit about challenge mapping in terms of how you do it basically, and then maybe a more complex version. Then I want to demonstrate doing challenge mapping, and we've developed our own app specifically for challenge mapping, and take questions. By the way, if you do have questions as we go, feel free to ask. If it gets to a point where it's the Q&A is kind of preventing me from moving forward enough, I might say let's hold some of these questions until later. But I always do better with immediate feedback than delayed. I'd rather know if I've lost you or confused you at that time than to find out later that you didn't get much out of the session because I'd said something that confused you and you weren't you weren't able to get on the right track again. So feel free to ask questions. Okay, and then after a final Q&A, I let you go. You go on your way. All right. So me, I've used the slide a few times. I'm a bit younger in the picture I have. That's me in Memphis riding in on my ass, just in case you were wondering. And but so my background, I'm dual American and Canadian, but my undergraduate and MBA was done in Canada. As a history and political science student in my undergrad. Did my MBA in Dalhousie, where I was absolutely sure I was not going to be able to do an MBA, that I would sink like a stone. And one of the faculty said, "Tim, don't worry about it. You'll bring in the creativity." And I was like, "Oh, sure." I thought everybody had it, and he was like, "No, they don't." And so that was my way through. They helped me with the quantitative stuff. I helped them with sort of the creative stuff, and it was a good partnership throughout. Moved to Chicago many years ago to pursue a PhD, which didn't work out. I'm now at DePaul though, as a DBA student, which I'm enjoying a great deal. And my dissertation focus is on problem definition, and particularly why people pick, I'm examining different characteristics about why people choose different types of problem definitions. I won't go into it because my wife constantly reminds me that it's kind of boring. All right. So that's where I'm, sort of education wise. I'm right now an adjunct professor at Northeastern Illinois University, full time with the family business, Basadur Applied Innovation. And I do a lot of volunteer business consulting with the Arts and Business Council of Chicago, which has been, just really, it's just invigorating to work with people who are passionate about their business, not quite, but don't have a business background. And so they really appreciate your help, and you can see it makes a difference, but then you watch them perform, or, perform their art, and they were already impressive people, but then you kind of see them what they're good at. And it's just, it's just does a lot for me and all the volunteers that work with the Arts and Business Council. All right, so that's me in a nutshell. What I haven't said here is Basadur Applied Innovation. I've been doing it most of my life. I've been at CPSI, we were having some conversations before everyone came in. Ray and I both have the experience of people saying, I knew you when you were this big when we go to CPSI. So I've been involved for a very long time. When I was in junior high and high school, my spring breaks and a lot of, my summers were spent going with my father to work with different clients, where I was a participant in our workshops, and everyone was told that they had to listen to me just as if they would anyone else, right? You've got to defer judgment, and the young guy over there who's never worked a day in his life might have a good idea for you and your work, right? So I've been doing this for a very long time. I've been training and facilitating with corporate clients for 25 years at least. I tend to tell people when I'm engaged with this, is like, this is the only thing I really know how to do well, right? Okay, so that's me. All right, so just a quick dive in for problem definition and challenge mapping. I know not many of you are familiar with the Basadur model, the best way, I know there are other models for CPS, but this was one I tend to use because it's got the 6-step process of CPS process laid out well. And as I understand where problem definition for us falls in. So in the Basadur model, it's an 8-step process, and the first 3 steps are really around understanding the problem itself, right? The 4th step is understanding it in terms of what are some good solutions. And so you can see in problem definition in our process, there are 2 diverges and converges. The first diverge and converge is where, just like you would in the CPS model that you guys have been learning, CPS process, that after you've gathered the data and you've done your fact finding, you are then turning those into, in what ways might we, or how might we, or what ways might I, or how might I statements. And the first divergent coverage in the Basadur problem definition is the same, right? What we've added to this, where we, to problem definition, is around taking those how mights, and we don't, Basadur, we don't use in what ways might we, were strictly how might. And so you can better explore and maybe uncover some insights if you explore these different how mights with and so that's what we're going to go through today, is how you do that. And by doing it, you're building a challenge. You end up building a challenge map. All right. So I took this from one of my father's research articles about what challenge mapping is. All right, and I felt it's a really nice statement, right? To uncover and clarify the different problems and subproblems lurking within a complex or ill-defined situation, to understand how they relate to each other. So if you're doing this well, those challenges that you came up with, you generated with when you were diverging on them in that first part of problem definition, by looking to see how they relate to each other and seeing how well they connect, how logically these different challenges relate to each other, will often surface hidden ones, the ones that you hadn't been aware of, and those frequently are the ones that are actually the most valuable and the most important. Okay, not always, but frequently. Okay, and so to build a challenge map, this is the it's a deceptively simple way to do it. And we call it the why, what's stopping analysis. And it's very simple. If you want to broaden the challenge, more aspirational, right, more strategic, you're going to ask why, right? Why might I want to do this? Or why might we want to do this? And when you answer that question, uh, that typically is a bigger picture sort of thing. You then take that statement and you transform it into a new how might. And so this is a way to, it's a very structured divergent thinking tool that relies on logic, right? So, and you'll see this when we start demoing it. Okay. So let's just give you an example, very quick explanation. So let's say we have our original how might, right? It's right here in the middle, and say, I really want to explore broader up, and it's like why we want to do this. Okay, so I would ask, as if I'm the facilitator, I'm going to ask the client, say, why might you want to do this challenge, right? And that person would answer the question, exactly a simple statement that's clear, hopefully using non-MBA type language, but very simple, clear statement, something that a child would understand, someone who's unfamiliar with the context at all could easily understand it. And from there, we say, great, thank you. Now, can we turn that into a new how might? And key challenge with this is to actually state it as a how might that accurately reflects the answer. And so when we're doing, as you guys know, with challenges, the language really matters. Does it say exactly what you mean? Is it really clear? If not, your brainstorming and your idea finding is going to suffer, right? So that there's a real trick in turning that answer into how mights. Now, for some people, that's not a problem at all. It's easy, but for others, especially the more divergent, they can get into bigger and bigger things. As they've answered the question, they're already thinking of a better way they might say it, or another thing that might come to mind. And then when they turn it into a how might, it gets the meaning gets garbled. Okay, but so there's that. But now let's say we want to ask what's stopping. And when we're asking what's stopping, we're narrowing down. We're trying to get to more tactical, more actionable challenges. If you do what's stopping enough, you will end up with something that is not so much a problem to be solved as it is an action to take. You're so specific that there's no point in brainstorming about it. It's so obvious that like I'm hungry. What's stopping me from being hungry? I haven't had lunch. Okay, well, how might I have lunch? What's stopping you from having lunch? I haven't gone to the kitchen, right? It's like, well, just go to the kitchen, right? We don't need to brainstorm how you can have lunch, right? Like, just go and eat. All right. So, but again, you ask what's stopping you from, and you answer in a complete, simple sentence. And we then turn that into a new how might. Okay. And so this is a very simple model, right? So far, pretty up and down, right? It's a redneck family tree. But if we want to get more depth and we want to explore more things, we need to go into a separate stage. And that is starting with that initial challenge, saying, why else might you want to? And getting an answer and turning that into a new challenge. And then asking why else again. And so as many times as it seems relevant to go back to that same challenge and ask why else and get the owner of the problem to think about it some more. And then, of course, and that broadens it out. Then to narrow it, you're asking what else is stopping you from, and what else again and again, right? And you're taking those answers each time and turning them into new how might I's or how might we's, all right? And so just taking it through, right? So we're familiar with this one, right? Here's the simple, but now we're going to come back and ask, All right, why else might you want to, right? And someone all of a sudden we've got a whole new different channel to follow potentially. Come back, ask it again. Why else? One more time. And the reason we're doing this is you want to avoid people from locking into a one-track mindset, and you want to force them outside of their comfort zones, what they're familiar with, and uncover things. And so when we're doing challenge mapping with anyone, we will start with that initial challenge, and we're going to ask them 3 whys, right? Just to start off, right off the bat. We then turn around and ask, 3, what's stopping, right? And again, to come out with these different things. And I typically will depending on the client and the responses, I may have to go to 4 or sometimes 5. When you ask someone in companies, a lot of times you ask them what's stopping them from doing something, and they will give you the first answer, which is I don't have enough people, or I don't have enough time, or I don't have enough money, right? And so you capture each one of those. How might I get more money to do this? How might I get more people to do this? How might I get more time to do this? And then you come back and you ask, so what else is stopping you? You don't have enough money. You don't have enough time. You don't have enough people. Great. Now what's stopping you? All right. Now we're getting into what's real for them. And it forces them into being, greater honesty about what's really driving their inability to tackle the challenge in question. By the way, a flip side of that is instead of saying you don't have any more people, you don't have any more money, you don't have any more time, is to say you have all the time in the world, you have all the people you might possibly want, and you have as much money as you'd like. Now what's stopping you, right? And so it's basically take, if there are stock answers to why, to what's stopping them from doing something, you just need to push beyond it. And challenge mapping is a great tool to use to make that happen, right? You're not being mean, you're just being exploratory, you're just being provocative. Okay. And so you end up with a what we call the spider, 3 up and 3 down, right? 6 legs. And once you've got, a lot of times when people say, well, okay, great, now that we've got 3 up and we've got 3 down, what happens next? And anything can happen at this point. You've now diverged, right? You've gone from 1 challenge, now you've got 7. And we return to the client, the owner of the problem, the person we're helping, as the as the facilitator. And we're saying, which one of these challenges that's up here, could be the original one or the new ones that we put up, which ones of these interest you? Right? Where do you want to go now? Is there a new area of interest, new thing you want to focus on, new challenge? And when they pick, great. We ask, why might you want to? We ask what's stopping, and we expand, right? We're building in, we're building it out. We're building in complexity. And one of the things I do want to point out here is I've done this very deliberately, is when you do that initial spider, you see, if you were to ask people to converge, right, which one of these is the most important? Inevitably, they're going to be drawn to that middle original challenge. Why? Because all the arrows go in and out of it, right? So obviously, it must be the most important. When in reality, it was just the starting point, and we asked 3 times, right? It's really not special. It's just been it's the starter, and we explored out from it. So we want to do more with these other challenges to get rid of that hourglass effect our starting point makes. And so asking why from those new what's stopping challenges, asking why from them is and one reason for doing it is to obliterate that hourglass perspective. But it's also, that's how you're going to get into new areas, right? So if we keep coming back to the original, we'll stuck in a very specific area or context. If we move over to a different challenge that came out of that original one, now we've got a chance to get into more new, fertile, unexplored ground. And so, just to give a quick idea of what that might mean, when I'm working with people, you can think of it as why might I want to do this, in terms of my job, what it would, this problem is important for me to solve at work, for me to be satisfied that I'm making the impact that I want to make. Sure, that's true. But there's also why else might you want to do it? And it may be it helps my career. It gives if I do this, one of the things is I'll look more innovative, right? Or it will show me as an expert in this area, or someone to involve, right? So there's a personal aspect of it. And then there are other reasons why it's important for this person to do this. So that's as basically as I can kind of explain it. And the reason I'm doing it this way is just trying to give some advanced understanding before we dive in and start demonstrating. Yeah, I know people don't like some people tend to not like spiders, but spider, you want spiders, they're getting rid of all the other creepy crawlies, right? So or the ones that fly around, and no one really likes those either, right? So they're good. I'm catching up on the chat as best I can. All right, and so just one last thing. This is an example we frequently use. This is a company that actually at the time was a $6 billion aerospace part supply company. They weren't Boeing or Airbus, but they supplied Boeing and Airbus. And they at a certain point in time, the CEO said, I don't know what to do next, but I do know we need to get our stock price up. And so they did a challenge map based off of the stock price, and their challenge of how might we get the stock price up. So they knew that challenge was very broad. I mean, how might we get the stock price up is a major goal, right? For any senior team. So they automatically were asking what's stopping. And one of the things that was stopping them was that Wall Street analysts weren't necessarily all that excited. This was back in the near days after 9/11, when air travel and the airline businesses were severely hit, and so there was some trepidation around any and all companies involved with aerospace. And so, all right, well, and by the way, that was just one part of the problem why analysts weren't all that excited about the company. This was Goodrich. They've since been acquired by United Technologies. So a $10 billion business got acquired by a $70 billion business. The big feast on the little guys, right? But at the same time, they saw a very well-run business while they made the acquisition, and so they just explored down. Right now, I do want to point out, in just about any challenge map, there's a question of where do you start challenge mapping, right? Like what's the good starting point? And the fact of the matter is, anywhere is a good starting point. You have no idea if you're, well, okay, you typically have very little idea if it's a broad challenge you're starting with or a very narrow one, right? And so, but you got to start somewhere. So pick one problem that you say, this is really important, and it's so important that we need to understand more about it. Start there, and then you ask the questions why. You turn those answers into new how mights. You ask what's stopping, and you do that over and over again, following interest and energy of the owner and participants in the session. And when people feel they've done a good enough job, then you can step back from the map and decide, um, you know, where was your starting point? Was it in the middle? Was it towards the more high end and broad, or was it more narrow? But in whatever event, it doesn't matter, right? Where you start, where it fits, you just put it in the middle of a map, and you start asking why and what's stopping, and build. Okay, so that's what I want to kind of talk about here, and so I'm thinking now maybe we can move into doing a bit of a demo. All right, and so by the way, you can do this in a number of different. This is our we've developed this this app. It is specifically for challenge mapping. It's meant right now. It's meant for facilitators to use, and I just say that because we've you know, when the pandemic hit and we were all going to virtual, we had to figure out a way to do challenge mapping with our clients virtually, right? We were largely face to face, as many creativity people were. And how many have you guys used things like concept board or mural? Was it Miro or Miro? Jamboard? There's many virtual tools that are out there. What we found for us was it's tough to work with clients. Number one, you as the facilitator have to master the technology. And no matter what, when you're challenge mapping, no matter how much you have mastered, let's say concept board or mural, it's still cumbersome to create a new challenge and then you know, draw arrows between linked challenges, right? So like sorry, excuse me, to, there we go. So say from here to here, right? And that is worrying me. That arrow should be making an automatic connection, and it isn't. Well, I've done something wrong. Not good. All right, so let me refresh, see what happens. Right, so we wanted something of our own that would help anyone doing challenge mapping to be able to do it quickly and easily, be able to focus on the content and actually facilitating rather than having to concentrate on technology and facilitating. And so this is new for us. We've launched in the last month and a half. Been working on it for you know, for 6, 7, 8 months to get it to a point where we're happy. It's our first version. There's already improvements that have been identified that we're going to be making. And so I think just to get us started, could somebody, I'm thinking, let's, there's 47 people on this call. That's a lot of people. By the way, when you're doing challenge mapping, you really, if you're very, very good at it and you're very comfortable with it, the process of asking why or what's stopping, getting those turned into, you know, good answers turned into challenges, and doing that, you're very comfortable with mapping. You can do it with 10, 15 people, at a stretch 20. But no one is doing challenge mapping with 47 people and doing it well. It's very much a tool where it goes through the facilitator, right? So everything that's being said, that's going to be captured and put on the map goes through me. I'm the facilitator. And so that's I can handle 1 or 2, maybe sometimes 3 different things at a time, but I can't handle 40, right? So pretty much ends up with people getting disengaged. I mean, you can do this different ways, right? You can have multiple facilitators and multiple maps and blend them together. You can have multiple people working together on the map, capturing things and helping the facilitator then put them, place them on the challenge map. I've done that quite a bit. When I was young, I went through a Frank Sinatra Jr. stage. My dad being Frank Sr. And if you don't know the story, when Frank Sr. was getting older, Frank Jr. took him around and put him up in front of stages, and Frank Sr. could perform, and Frank Jr. made sure everything else was taken care of. So I would be there listening to what else was being said by members of the group, while Frank Sr. there was capturing what he was focused on, capturing that. I was capturing some of the other stuff. And then I would feed that to him, and he would then place them up on the map and work with the team to figure out where these new challenges fit on the map. So there are different ways to do it, but really for today, 47 people, it's going to be too much. So I'm hoping we can do is find some challenge. Let's go with a CPSI related challenge, right? We're all here. and hoping to learn new stuff and to get better at things and become more creative. And so I'm thinking, would it be all right if I said, you know, a challenge is how might we apply what at CPSI in our let's say everyday work. Would that be okay? Is that a decent challenge, right? We can all kind of relate to that. That's why we're here. Okay, thank you. All right, so boom, I've just created it. I'm going to put it now. This is our starting point, right? And I've already prepared it. This is the way I do it. I prime people. I let them know there's going to be 3 above and 3 below. So here's what I'd like. If I'm going to ask why, all right, I'm going to say, why might we want to apply what we learn at CPSI in our everyday work? What's one reason why we might want to do that? And could someone give me an answer? And this might be something where it might be best to, if you're fast and you can unmute to do it that way, or if you're a fast typer and you type it in the chat.
We've got some in chat already. Martina said, refresh our tools. Shelly said, for my clients to perceive me as more creative. And Laura said, it will lead to more creative results. So
okay, excellent. Thank you. I'm gonna work with those. All right, so I'm gonna take the first one here. So so here's where again I come in and I want to check the light. So why might we want to apply what we learn at CPSI in our everyday work? And the answer is refresh our tools. And so I'm not quite sure applying what we learn at CPSI in our applying it in everyday work, how that helps us refresh our tools. So,
hi, Tim. I wrote that. So I feel like I get stuck using the same tools, so I'll learn some new ones here that I can apply and get a fresh approach.
okay, and so and you want to use these at work, right?
Yes.
Right. So okay, cool. So how if I were to say how might I use? There we go. How might I use new? I'm going to say CPS tools. I mean, it could be. Doesn't have to be CPS. You know, just so we're clear, CPS tools. In my work, I'm
or just not get stuck. Still, keep
cool.
doing the same thing I always do. Right? Does that make sense?
Yes. So is that all right to say, how might I use new CPS tools in my work so I don't get stuck doing the same old things?
Perfect.
Excellent. All right. So I'm going to submit that in. All right. And this is just a little bit. All right. So I'm going to try to make some room here. And let's go like this. That's better. All right. So I've asked why. I've gotten a great answer from Martina. We've clarified it so it's more clear. And now I've got to test that the logic makes sense, right? So I asked why, got an answer, put it up above, right? Because it's that's where an answer to a why question goes. But to make sure it makes perfect sense, I'm gonna check it by asking what's stopping. All right. And so what's stopping us from using new CPS tools in my work so I don't get stuck doing the same old things is that I have not yet applied what I've learned at CPSI in my everyday work. Right? So if I apply what I learned at CPSI, would that help me use new tools, right? What stopped me from using new tools is I haven't been able to apply what I've learned yet. Does everyone agree that does that make sense? Can I draw this arrow? And if we're not sure, I know I need to work on my typing.
I see some thumbs up and head noddings.
Excellent, thank you. Right, so cool. let's see. I'm sorry, I'm scrolling. Okay, so coming back to the, is it Shell? Shell
Shelley.
Marita? Shelley? Okay, thank you.
Kelly.
So for my clients to perceive me as more creative, so why might I want to apply what I learn at CPSI in my everyday work? It's that it would help. It would help like my clients would think I was more creative. Okay, so so how might I'm going to go? I know we're doing. I'm mixing up the I and the we. You know, singular and plural. So. But you know, we're diverging right now. So the important part is to get the intention down. And then if it needs to be cleaned up, you can clean it up later. So how might we, so I'm going to say, get our clients to see us, sorry, to, I should use your words, not mine. Okay, so I'll take that. Excellent. All right, so why might I want to apply what I learned at CPSI in my everyday work? It will help me get my clients to see me as being more creative. What's stopping me from getting my clients to perceive me as being more creative is that I have not yet applied what I've learned at CPSI in my everyday work.
Tim,
Yes.
could you clarify? Some people are confused about why and how. Like, when would you use why versus how? Are they interchangeable or?
Well, this is so this is what we call the why, what's stopping analysis. So we don't ask how, right? What we're trying to do here is we're still in problem definition, right? We're still trying to figure out what the right problems are. We're not concerned about how anything would be done. We're just concerned, like, what are the problems we're dealing with? So there's you know, so if you're worried about how, don't, right? The how will come later. That's for us, that's more idea finding and then action planning, right? Where you start to worry about how you would actually do things. And so you really want to focus in when the question is, why might you want to, is to simply answer why you would, right? And when the question is, what's stopping you from doing something, you really want to just focus in on those things that are stopping you from doing it. And if that could also be said as a how, sure, but you still want to respond and conceptualize in terms of thinking in terms of what's stopping you, instead of how you might go about doing it or why you might want to do it rather than how you might go about doing it. Does that help?
Shefali, did that clear things up for you?
Yes, thanks. Thank you.
Okay.
Liz also has a question.
Go ahead, Liz.
It's not a question, it's more a commentary that I think that what I'm understanding about it is that you're using the answer to the why questions to then create a new challenge statement that begins with how might I or how might we?
Yes.
And so the word how in there might be confusing.
Ah.
So you're doing a step mentally that we're learning is my point. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
Yes.
It's funny. I didn't even see I wasn't even thinking of the word how,
but it's in that stem, you know, so I
Right.
think that's why people are saying, well, what's the difference between why and how? Well, it's because Tim is doing this nice translation of our why answers to a how might I challenge statement.
Right. So let me, thank you very much for that. So let me,
And this is Laura. To add to that, I'm still puzzling it out. We started this with you asking us for some whys, which we put them in. And I don't know if this is actually happening, but it seems to me that as you're going through this, you're using those whys to logic check back to the central node in the map to say, does that logic help with the why? Does what you said help with the really relate back to the
these are, sorry, this is very good. Thank you for raising this, because yeah, I'm not being clear enough, and so this is so let's see if I can help. So the why, what's stopping analysis. I'm the facilitator, so I'm step one. I ask why or why else, right? Or I'll ask what is stopping you or what else might be stopping you. You then answer in a complete, simple statement, right? Now where this is fact finding, right? I've asked a question, right? A fact finding question, why or what's stopping, and you've answered in step two, a fact, right? And since we're in problem definition, or in the CPS model, this is would be in problem finding, right? We articulate those problems, we take those facts in step three, and we're creating new challenges, right? And for us, that's always a how might. And so so the job is, and really what I should be doing, if I'm trying to be more dynamic, and so I'm doing things that if I was in a small session with people, I would make you do step three, but I've been doing it myself, and that's where it's been creating confusion, right? I've taken the answer that's been given in the chat, and I've been trying to create I've been creating the challenge, right? Where what you actually want to do is say, okay, here you go. This is the fact, great fact. I understand it. It's clear. Now what's the how might in it? And I should be turning that back to you guys to do. So you guys would turn it into a new how might. That's the process. And I was just, in my mind, I was thinking it might be a bit cumbersome to do in this context, but I think that's a mistake on my part. And so let's give it a go. All right. So come back here again. And so there's that. But maybe before I jump right back into building the map, what I'm doing is always testing the logic, right? So I got a why, a new how might was created. That fact was turned into a new challenge that we thought would go above because I asked why. And so that's where any answer that whole thing should reside above the original challenge. And so it's there. But sometimes when you ask why and you get an answer, it makes perfect sense. But when you're trying to follow the logic backwards, so what's stopping us from doing this, and you go back down to the original challenge, it doesn't make sense. It made sense for why you'd want to do it, and as expressed, but it doesn't make clear sense, logical sense. We're saying, well, I'm not able to do this because of this. It doesn't work out. All right. So before we put an arrow between two challenges that we've created, we want to test the logic both ways. It should work for why. It should also work for what's stopping. Right. So I always do it. If I asked why, I'm going to test the logic of it by starting at the new one and asking what's stopping. All right. So this arrow should work both ways. Doesn't matter if it why or what's stopping. The relationship the answer to the questions should both be yes. Right. So what's stopping us from getting our clients to perceive us as being more creative? Is it that we have not yet applied what we learned at CPSI in our everyday work? Yes. Good. Logic fits. Why do we want to apply what we learned at CPSI in our everyday work? Would that help us get our clients to perceive us as being more creative? Yes. Awesome. Logic fits, draw an arrow, right? Connect them. They relate directly to each other. Okay. So I got to bring up the chat again. Sorry, give me a second. All right.
Laura wants to know, so the why question is always, would it help with the original challenge? Is that right?
When we're working on the original challenge, the why the logic should be, think about it, I guess, why do I want to do things like why? Another way I could express it is why might you want to apply what you learn at CPSI in your everyday work? What would it help you be able to do? What would you be able to do because of that, right? Why? It would enable you to do something, right? Something would happen. And you would answer that. And it should be direct, right? It should fit directly. It's very specific. I want to do this. I want to solve this challenge. One reason, because of, if I solve this, it will help me. I might get all of these different outcomes, right? But at the same time, you might look and say, you know what? This isn't really what I'm interested in. You know, yeah, I could apply what I learned at CPSI. But if I were to pick this one up here on the top left, how might we get our clients perceived as being more creative? Well, that gives me a whole bunch more options. I could apply what I learned at CPSI and be seen as more creative, or I could start talking abstract film, you know, or I could do improv. You know, I could show my improv skills. Yes, exactly, and be seen as more creative. So, what am I really trying to accomplish? What do I really want to do? Do I want to apply what I learned, or is it really that what I'm interested in is being perceived as being more creative? And for each of us, that, you know, that there could be different answers, right? But it's given us new, it's broader, right? So how might we get our clients being more creative is it gives us more options than does how might we apply what we learn at CPSI in our everyday work, right? So kind of giving us, showing the different levels and the options that result, right? If we were to pick the original one, how might we apply what we learn at CPSI in our everyday work? You say that's the challenge. We want to solve it. Great. We're moving into idea finding, right? And in the Basadur process, we're moving into step 4. And great, we're going to brainstorm on all the ways we might apply CPSI, what we've learned at CPSI in our everyday work. We're going to come up with as many as we can. If we were to pick how might we get our clients to perceive us as being more creative? Well, yeah, one of those brainstorming solutions is, well, let's apply what we learned at CPSI. That's one way to do that. But again, we could brainstorm a lot of other options that make sense to this challenge. How might we get our clients to perceive as more creative? They work, you know, they definitely solve that problem. But if you were to come down here and say, how might we apply what we learn at CPSI in our everyday work? And you start brainstorming stuff that you never learned at CPSI, you know, you're not coming up with good solutions to the problem. Right? All of a sudden, all of those extra solutions, those broader solutions, don't make sense. They're not applicable, and so that's kind of a fundamental part of this. All right. Sorry, I now want to refresh our tools. I'm sort of coming back. Okay, sorry, I want to bring Laura. You had it will lead to more creative results in the chat, and I want to make sure I've got that. So can you say? So if we apply what we learn at CPSI in our everyday work, we'll get more creative results at work, right? Is that the logic? That the am I on track with that?
Yeah, it will lead to, yeah, more, well,
It's a good simple sentence.
it will, if we do it, then it's more like, sorry.
Nice ringtone though.
Thank you. Yeah, it will lead to more robust creative results.
Okay, so now I'm going to do this properly, and I'm going to say, could you turn that into a new how might? And by the way, if we were in a group, I wouldn't just, now it's like it's all on Laura. Laura's got to do it. In a group, it's up to anyone. You know, it's not on Laura's shoulders. We're a team, right? But for this, Laura, could you turn that into a how might, and I will type it in.
How might we drive to more robust creative results?
Drive to more?
Yeah, or how might we achieve, is it better?
Okay.
How might we achieve more robust creative results?
Okay, excellent. I think I've got it as is. Okay, so how might we achieve more robust creative results? All right, now, so I've asked why, which is how we got this new one. And I'm going to test the logic by asking what's stopping from the new one, achieve more robust creative results. So is one thing stopping us from achieving more robust creative results the fact that we have not yet applied what we've learned at CPSI in our everyday work? Yes, right? Makes sense. So I can draw the arrow. All right, so now I've got 3 across. I mean, if you look at them, there are very different streams. We've got one which is more around, and I don't mean it to sound harsh, but right, but this is around building that brand, that image, that perception, right, of us as creative people. Motivation, maybe, or at least intrinsic motivation, interest, sort of an internal motivation aspect. I really get tired of doing the same old things. And I'm wondering, sorry, was Martina, was it you that gave this one? How might we use new tools so I don't get stuck doing the same old things? Was that you?
Yes.
What is your foresight profile?
I haven't taken it, but I am planning on taking the quiz, the foresight. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, well, we have our own profile instrument, and I would guess you would be a generator. Generators detest the status quo. They like to constantly do new things, and so I think you would fall up in the foresight in a similar thing, right up sort of at the front end of things.
Okay, I'll let you know.
Okay, please do. All right, so we've got, and then at the end, like, there's performance, right? So we've got 3 different things already. Now I'm going to come back and ask what's stopping. All right, so and this might be a bit awkward because we're not done CPSI yet. So hey Tim, come on, you're asking me to apply what I've learned at CPSI, and CPSI's not even over yet. But hey, it's virtual. You could still be doing work. So what's one thing stopping you from applying what you've learned at CPSI in your everyday work? Anyone has an answer, feel free to maybe okay, so
Hi, Tim. It's Marilyn.
come on, Marilyn. All right, good morning. Is it morning where you are?
Yes, it is. It's morning.
Okay. All right, so what's
Fear.
stopping you? Fear. Okay.
So it could be fear of failure, fear of looking stupid in front of your clients. But at the end of the day, it all is like, ooh, I'm afraid of this because I haven't done it before. But at the end of the day, the big word coming out is fear.
Okay, now I need a sentence. So I love the theme of fear, but I need so, and you've given a lot there, but can we state that this aspect of fear? What's a good simple statement?
How might we, now, as big or small as you want me to go, how might we overcome our fear of implementing new tools, maybe? Is that short enough?
Can I say at work? Not that it really matters, but
Doesn't matter. New tools, just generally. I mean, if you want this short, we can go with just implementing new tools, period.
Well,
Whatever you want. You are the facilitator.
I am, but you guys are the content, so I should be capturing what you guys think, what you really mean.
For me, the answer is fear. So that's stated. Good.
Okay. All right. And so the reason I put at work at the end is that is the context of the question I asked, what's stopping you from doing new things in your everyday work? And also it gives that clarity that you can't have people picking it for different reasons. Someone might say, well, yeah, at work and beyond, but at least they know we all agree that it's talking about work. So thank you for that. Excellent. Now I asked what's stopping to come up with this, and Marilyn gave a great answer and turned into a good how might. So I just need to check the logic to make sure the logic fits by asking why this time. So why might we want to overcome our fear of implementing new creativity tools at work? Would that help us actually apply what we learn at CPSI in our everyday work if we weren't afraid to do so? Yeah. Right. Now, some of you might say, listen, that's Marilyn's issue. She's got fear problems. I don't. I have no fear. I like to live on the edge. That might be true, but that's judging, right? You're saying that's not true for me. But the question is always like, might this, if you were to overcome this, would that overcome this fear, would that help you be more comfortable applying it? Yes. Doesn't have to necessarily, we're not at the point where we're trying to say, is this true for me or not? It might be, so we capture it, right? We're deferring judgment. Okay, what's someone else want to unmute and answer the question of what's stopping us from applying what we learn at CPSI in our everyday work?
I will.
Excellent.
One of the reasons I had thought of was having the time to develop the materials that you might need to implement the new tools. Like you've already got, you know, your mural boards made or your printouts done for other ones, whereas with new tools, you need to sometimes design new things. Hi,
Okay.
developer here.
Great. So there's a lot in there. And so what, if you could encapsulate that as a how might we, what might, what's one take on it?
How might we streamline the development of necessary materials? Or how might we find materials already made?
Okay, I've added necessary materials for the new tools we have learned. Is that okay? All right. So I'm going to take this one and, all right, so we've got it here. If we could streamline the development of necessary materials for the new tools we have learned, would that help us apply what we learn at CPSI in our everyday work? Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna draw the arrow. Now, what you may want to do, I want to capture what's said exactly, but we may come around at a certain point and say, all right, you know, if I was really working with a client and, you know, like I would say, can we simplify streamline the development of necessary materials? Like really, what are we talking about? But that would come later, right? But we've got the thought, it's there, and the logic fits. Okay, I'm going to come back one more time. Someone else, or could be someone again. It doesn't, you know, I'm not saying one time only. But what else is stopping us from applying what we learn at CPSI in everyday work? We have to overcome fears and anxieties of trying new stuff out at work. We currently don't have the tool, maybe the necessary materials to help us apply the tools. What else might be stopping us from applying what we learn at CPSI in our everyday work? Okay, so other team members hesitant to try new ideas. I can work with that. So I'm happy to. So what do we something around other team members hesitant to try new ideas? Can someone help me with that?
So that's mine. I guess I was thinking, how might we get other team members to see the value in trying new things?
Can we say just for fun, right? You can tell me to eagerly try new things.
Sure, to get excited with it, right? To get excited about it.
I'll leave it. I think, you know, I end up writing the same thing at work, you know, it's like, all right, we got it. We got the message. It's at work. All right. So how might we get our team members? Let me pull it up. I think that, let me get our team members excited. There we go. How do we get our team members excited to use new creativity tools? If we get our team members excited to use new creativity tools, would that help us apply what we learned at CPSI in our everyday work? Our team members are like, what'd you learn? Come on, we got to see this new stuff. Show us. I think it absolutely would help, right? By the way, I'm drawing the arrows here a little bit more eagerly than I would normally. You always want to be careful when you're facilitating that the client doesn't say, well, no, that's what you thought. You really liked that one, but we didn't, right? It's like, oh no, now they're shirking responsibility and that onto me. So I don't want to do that. But you know, we're having fun here, or at least I hope you are. little bit of fun. All right. So here's what I'm gonna ask one of you to and it's like, at least one of you, but is there one of these challenges that you look and say, I know this is where we started, but for me, I think if I had to choose, I would choose one of these other ones. Like, is there a new spot? Because I'm a facilitator looking to continue the divergence and exploration using challenge mapping. So where would you, where's your energy? Where, which one is more interesting?
I think getting the team members excited.
All right. So is that Shelley?
Yeah.
Thank you, Shelley. All right. So I'm going to come over here. All right. I'll create a new one. And because I have no idea, I'm just going to put a couple out here and see what happens. So Shelley, would you like me to ask you why we might want to get our team members excited to use new creativity tools? Or do you want to explore what's stopping us from getting our team members excited to use new tools?
Oh, that's, I think the why.
Okay. By the way, I always know I'm at CPSI because the people all want to ask why, right? If you ever work with engineering heavy clients, they want to ask what's stopping. Can we get narrower, right? Can we? And they say, isn't challenge mapping just a root cause analysis? Like, well, if you use it that way, it is. So my job with them is always just like, why do you want it? Why do you want it? I know you want, I'm going to make you uncomfortable, but there's going to help you more for me to help you with why. You do the what's stopping on your own. You don't need me for that.
Yeah, okay, the Olympic swimmers have the Olympic rings. We all have why tattooed. Yeah.
All right. What did I turned the map blue. All right. There we go. So we'll come up here with this one. Why might we want to get our team members excited to use new creativity tools?
Oh gosh, I can come up with a lot of answers for that. If the team is excited, that excitement rubs off on clients.
Okay, so how do we put that in a challenge?
Let's see.
How might we?
I'm stuck. Somebody else
might
help
we
me.
excite our clients? There
we go. Yeah, great, Shefali. Thank you.
Welcome.
Can I say through our own enthusiasm?
Yeah.
Just to be clear, because there's one way to do it. Okay, so what's stopping us from exciting our clients through our own enthusiasm? Is that, well, I can't even get we're struggle to get our team members excited. If we get our team members excited, that might help us use our own enthusiasm to get our clients excited. Excellent. Okay, now I've done the 3 up and 3 down. So what I can do here as a facilitator, I'd say, all right, well, maybe I should ask again, why else, right? But I'm just going to build up from this. Why might we want to excite our clients through our own enthusiasm? Why would we want to do that? Use our own enthusiasm to excite our clients. Our clients see us and they're all excited. Great. What does that do for us? What do we get?
I think excitement ups the motivation, and motivation ups productivity and investment in the solution.
Okay, so what's the how might? How might we increase our clients' motivation? Okay. I'm not dyslexic, but I am when I type. I don't know if anyone else has that experience. Increase our clients' motivation for what? What are they're really motivated for? What is, what might we say? Like they're excited for
better outcomes.
Okay. And I'm going to go with MBA speak. Can I say to achieve better outcomes?
Yes.
All right. There's always a way to say it that just is a little, I'm sorry, to achieve better outcomes. Yes, I'm using because it's clear, but boy, it kind of takes the zing out of what you just said, right? I mean, so What's stopping us from increasing our clients' motivation to achieve better outcomes is one thing that we have not yet motivated them through our own enthusiasm. We haven't excited them through our own enthusiasm, right? Okay. So I'm going to come back up here and say, what else is stopping us from increasing our clients' motivation to achieve better outcomes? One thing is we have not yet excited them through our own enthusiasm. But what's another thing that's stopping us, that might be stopping us from increasing our clients' motivation to achieve better outcomes? Is there?
I feel like with these tools, there's always skepticism on the return of investment of time, you know?
Okay, so what?
It's like, how might we prove the efficacy of this tool or something like that?
And I'm going to just keep driving it home. Creativity tools.
At work.
Yes, exactly. Right. You ever find yourself, man, I'm in a rut. My God, you're just saying, like, you know, so if you've ever seen Ted Lasso, it's like, you know, it loses all meaning. I've done it too much. Right. So, all right. So how might we prove the efficacy of the, wow. All right. Let me, the net tools. I don't think it's net, it's new. There we go. All right. So how might we prove the efficacy of the new creativity tools we use at work? Would that help us increase our clients' motivation to achieve better outcomes? Does that fit? Or might there be something in between these two? So let me, okay. So, and this is where it's like, just exploring a little bit more, maybe there's a, you know, maybe we made a bit of a leap in logic, right? There's something in between. Maybe there isn't, but maybe there is. Let's test. So if we prove the efficacy of the new tools we use, what does that do for clients? Right? Does it get them to trust?
Increases confidence.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to type something in, and you can tell me if I've got it right or not. But it's like, how might we increase? There we go. I forgot the verb. Increase the confidence of our clients, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the creativity tools we're using, right? Is that okay? And notice I didn't put at work.
It's not confidence in the tools, it's confidence in us to use the right tools.
Sorry, give me a second here. We're using okay, got it. And let me see. So I've got a feature here that enables me to sort of alter. Well, that's not very helpful, is it? All right. Sorry, cancel. All right, so I asked what's stopping off of this one here. Okay, so if we increase the confidence of our clients in us that we're using the right creativity tools, that was annoying. All right. All right, so sorry, I'm just gonna cancel this for the moment. Keep going. I'll fix this later. That we're using the right creativity. So if we increase confidence our clients in us that we're using the right creativity tools, would that help increase our clients' motivation to achieve better outcomes? They're confident that we're doing the right stuff with them. They know, they trust us. Like they have absolute confidence. If Harry says we're brainstorming, by God, we're brainstorming because he knows what he's doing, and it's going to help us. So would that increase their motivation to achieve better outcomes? They have confidence in us, and I'm looking for sort of thing. Okay, all right. I'm seeing head nodding and all that. That's great. Thank you. All right, now I come back and I say, what's stopping us from increasing the confidence of our clients and us that we're using the right creativity tools? Is one thing that's stopping us from doing that we have not yet proved the efficacy of these new tools we're using. Right? If we could prove the efficacy of the tools we're using, would that increase their clients' confidence in us that we're using the right tools? Absolutely, right? All right, good. Okay, so you know, I'm looking at the time, and there's time left, and you know, if you guys want to continue diverging using why, what's stopping, and that, I'm happy to do it. But if you guys want to, maybe this is a good chance to start at any questions you might have. I'm happy to pause or say, okay, let's shift into questions. But does anybody have questions right now? No? Okay. If you do, feel free to chime in with them. It's absolutely fine. This is like I'm asking for it, so it's perfect time. You can't get better.
Tim, I was
yes.
just saying, I was reflecting, I think 2 years ago you taught this and we had 2 classes come in and watch you do it. And we were all shouting questions at you and you were like putting sticky notes on and going up and down. And it was madness and amazing to watch. But I just wanted to say that I think this virtually, it brought a lot of clarity to me. Like it was, I think without less of us shouting at you, it certainly helped us too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just wanted to say it makes a lot of sense. So thank you.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And there, now here I was saying you shouldn't challenge Matt with 40 people. There are about 40 people in there. There are a good 30 anyway. And
everybody had ideas.
Yeah. And one thing I recall is Nathan Schwagler was in the back. And he was catching my eye every once in a while, and I don't know if anyone else noticed it, but Nathan at a certain point was coming in with like gold, right? He knew what would fit, and everyone was, it was new to everyone else. Nathan's very familiar, right? So he's like, he's like, I'll help everybody out by putting this one up as a good example. I was like, oh, okay, and so yeah, but that was a lot of fun. So
it made me think. The first session I took this year was about co-facilitation, and if I think the first time I do this, I'm going to need a buddy because there's a lot going on here.
Yeah, absolutely, and I mean, the first time I ever did this, I was actually. First time, I did it on my own, and I did the whole process on my own. And at the end of it, not even at the end, but I realized like, wow, I was rigidly following the process, and I made these people go through every step of the process, and we didn't have to, right? But they humored me, right? I was like, okay, but they, I mean, at the same time, they got great results. It really was. I guess that's one, coming back, I think we all know this as CPSI people, but no matter how well you do it or how poorly you do it, facilitation using CPS, you are helping them, right? They got their lives, their situations got better, right? And you can look and say, wow, I could have done a better job, or I wasn't very good, or this didn't go well, or I didn't do this as well as I'd like. They still end up in a better place. Who gets the chance to have somebody help them with their problems, right? Does not happen enough, especially hands off. Just think of everything. It's psychological safety, right? It's a no judgment zone, right? When we're diverging, and hey, when we converge, we're only converging on the good stuff. We're not going to talk about the bad stuff. We just talk about the good. What do you like? What's good here, right? You're helping people. So
Tim?
Yes.
You've got a couple hands up. Liz, Amanda, and Shelley all have deep philosophical questions for you.
Excellent. Who wants to go first?
In order, Liz was first.
Okay. All right.
Okay. I just want to draw Tim's attention. Tim, this is a great session. I'm just really, touched by the thriving that this makes possible. And I want to draw your attention to something that came up in the chat.
Oh, yes.
From Laura. she was saying it would help me if the ups and downs were different colors. I was having the same thought. I was getting confused about what's a why answer and what's a what's stopping answer. And then somebody else mentioned, Kathy, that she has done it that way in Miro, but sometimes an up becomes a down answer, you know. So anyway,
Yeah.
I just would love for your comments on that.
Yeah, I will. So that's a very good. At the end of this, you don't, you know, what, when you create a new challenge, and yeah, I asked why, so it goes up here, and so it's got to be, it's a why answer. At the end of the day, it may have moved. You know, something new might have, you might have realized. I'll say this: if it moves from higher to lower, it it was made more specific in a, you know, it shouldn't fit easily in two places. If a you know, like a classic example we use is, and this was many years ago, but the challenge was, how might we reduce employee absenteeism? It was in a Ford Motor plant, and he said, "Why do you want to do that?" He said, "Morale." Right? And like, what do you mean morale? You know, it's like, okay, how might we improve morale? Boom, there we go. So what's stopping you from reducing the absenteeism at work? Morale. Right? So how might we improve morale? Well, why do we want to improve morale? It would help reduce absenteeism at work. Why do you want to reduce absenteeism at work? It would improve morale. So we, you know, it can't be fit in both spots, right? So we asked, you know, we'll say more about it. And he said, well, you know, why do we want to reduce absenteeism? So that people are prouder of coming of the workplace. It demoralizes people when they come in and half the people don't show up, you know, or whatever, you know, like the, you know, so that's why we want to do it. Okay, well, what's stopping you from reducing absenteeism in terms of morale? So, well, it's not been a very enjoyable place to work, you know, so and there's layoffs all over the place, and you know, people are fearing for their jobs, and it's like, great. So we took those answers and specified. But coming back to the thing around the not being able to tell, we actually don't want you to, we don't want people to think about, well, that was a why, or we want them to just look at this overall map and say which specific challenge is important, you know, the one that I think we should solve. And it doesn't matter if if it came from a why or a what's stopping. So that's why we don't have it as different colors. I mean, you can, I mean, so a lot of times when we go through convergence and people pick, and I'm sorry, just the way that we've got this set up right now, it's not easy for me to give 47 people access to it. But if you see on the left-hand side of my screen here, there's a number of tools. These ones, sorry, I'm making a jump from side to side. On the right-hand side here, these tools, like I can easily make a new card, right? I can draw arrows. I can use this to edit the size and shape of cards. If I wanted to move a whole bunch of cards, I can do it like this. And then, you know, these will move, and you know, like, it helps me as a facilitator arrange the map. If I want to copy a card, I can, right? So these are, when I'm facilitating, I see these. My clients normally don't, because I've invited them in. They see these tools over here. These are for you, the clients and participants. And normally it wouldn't be using the chat function or anything, you know, like we are today. But so, you know, as we've been doing this, some of you have been engaged, talking to me, working, you know, creating a new how might, and the rest of you haven't, right? Well, guess what? Some of you, if not many of you, are like, I have my own ideas, right? And I'm stuck. I can't say it because Tim's working with Beth, and Beth has taken too long, you know, or what, you know, however, you know, you might, but say, okay, well, that's all right. We've got you know, just a parking lot over here. So, you know, you on your own could type in whatever it is, right? And boom, it's all of a sudden here. And when there's, you know, when Tim and Beth are done, you can say, hey, I've got one in the parking lot. I'd like to look at it. It's like, cool, all right. And so I bring it over here onto the map. I can drag it right onto the map. and we can, you know, and I'll say, because I didn't ask why or what's stopping to get that challenge. I can say, okay, where do you think it fits? You know, okay, oh, you think it fits here? All right, well, great, I'll put it there. Let's test it. I'll see if it fits one of the ones above by asking why, or I'll say what's stopping to see if it fits one of the ones below, right? So these are different things that we've put in here to help people. You might not have, the lightning bolt, the head with the lightning bolt, it's like you might not have, you might not be able to put it as a how might yet, right? You've got half a thought. Well, you can still add it in here. You can type it in and post it, and for everyone, it'll be there for everyone to see, right? And so, you know, you know, half an aha is better than no aha at all, right? So you put your half an aha up here and someone else has the other half and we get it, right? But you don't want it to be, don't want it stuck inside one person's head, and because they have no idea how, you know, no avenue to easily share it. So these are things we've put in here. And then this one, this is just, you know, I'm the only participant in here right now, but we have a thought catcher where you're just off in thought, right? You know, like, I don't know what to make of this, but I'm gonna type it in, I'm gonna capture it, but I only want it for me. I don't want anyone else to see it. This is, you know, I don't know what it is, you know. But then after, you know, maybe think about it a little while, someone else says something, you know, the flow moves away a certain way, and it's all of a sudden now it's making sense. You can take that thought and make it public, right? And you can choose to share it with everyone, and now we're getting more of that richness, and people can, and it doesn't have to, you know, it doesn't have to be that one person who made that thought public. It can be anybody, right? It's open for sharing and for germination of new things. And so this is, you know, this is what I wanted to show you, that we, you know, for us, I mean, this is, it's been, you know, this is a challenge mapping is not an easy thing to do when you're new at it. It's a skill, right? Like, you know, when you saw me a couple of years ago doing that thing, well, yeah, I've been doing this for 20 some odd years. And one of the problems sometimes with me doing a session like that is people look and they say, well, I could never do that. You know, like I couldn't do what he did, right? I have a colleague of mine in St. Louis, and she's brought, you know, she was new and she had some clients and she didn't feel comfortable doing challenge mapping. So she asked me to come in and help out. I did it with the team, you know, I did, you know, she got started, but then she asked me to step in, and afterwards she said, I could never do that. Right. That's why I asked you to come in. And it's like, well, I'm never doing it for you. I'm never doing it. I didn't say never, but it's like, I'm not doing it again, because you're not going to get better watching me. You only get better doing it. Right. And I come back to no one else, like the people that come to CPSI or come to our training and see challenge mapping, right? They know what it is, but typically no one has ever seen challenge mapping before. Right. And so you do it as well as you can, and they're happy, right? They might be confused. I'm not quite sure what we were doing. I do get that sometimes, but they don't know what good is or bad is, right? They just know what you did, and they're more focused on what's in these boxes than they are, you know, in these challenges, than in how you did, right? They're concerned about how you did as a facilitator in terms of what results they get, right? And so you do, anytime you're getting them to diverge and think and let go of preconceived notions and their limitations, they're going to come up with something new, and they're going to be happy, right? So I don't want to say, oh, challenge mapping is easy and everyone can do it and be great. No, it takes time. It's a skill. It's an art. You develop it the more you do it. But when you do start doing it more, you know, you're gonna feel happier with what you did, but throughout it, the people you're working with, the people you're trying to help, are going to feel helped, right? Absolutely. The last thing I kind of maybe to talk about with this. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Just a note to build on what Liz said before. When I started using this tool at the beginning, I found it easier for myself. from the initial challenge, like
Mhm.
for instance, that we have, to make an extra box in between where I put the statement that they said before I turn into how might I, or
Yeah.
how might we. It was a reference point for me. It made me feel more comfortable putting on the board, this is what you told me. Now let's turn it into a creative question.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was easier to handle it. In time, you eliminate it because you go straight to the conversion. So some of the folks that feel a little uncomfortable may want to do that.
I hear that is great. Yeah, absolutely. Right. But because did any of the people you were working with think that that was unusual?
No,
No, right? They thought it was helpful.
absolutely.
So, so
It was their words.
yeah. One of my mentors, Larry Crace, in Mississauga, Ontario. Larry will ask the why question, and he will listen to the answer, and he'll say, "What I heard was this. Is this what you said? Is this what you mean?"
Right.
And he will put it into his own words, right?
Mhm.
Are you saying this? Is this what you mean? And if they say yes, great. If they say no, they say, well, what did you mean? And so everything goes directly through him. And for me, as my style, it's torturously slow. Oh my God, why do I have to wait for Larry Crace to understand? He's a facilitator. Who cares, right? This is what I said. Write it down, put it up there, and test it, right? And let's go, 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 go. But people work with Larry, they love his flow, they love his approach. And so he doesn't write it down like you were doing, but it's the same thing, right? He's saying, do I understand this right? Yes, good.
It's the same.
Now let's turn into a how might. I know people who and I was one of them actually. This was when I was doing it more face to face. You know, you guys have seen me. I said, oh, we made this new challenge. I need to test the logic by asking what's stopping, right? What's stopping us from getting our clients and producers being more creative? Is it that we have not yet done this? Right? That language is tricky, right? And everyone will learn their own best way to do it. We actually tried to do a little bit here to help by saying, you know, we've put in here like the check, you know, would it help? Is that you have not yet, you know, those sorts of things. But it's tricky to do that when you're in front of a client. So when I had flip chart paper, I would write it in pencil, right? I would write that up in pencil. No one else could see it, but I could see it. And so I would read it. Another trick I had, especially in when in rooms, if I was doing challenge mapping on the wall over here, on the opposite wall, I had in flip chart paper in big marker, I wrote, is it that you have not yet? And I wrote, would it help you too? No one knew what those things were, right? They were just, look at crazy creativity guy has these stupid things on the wall. I guess we're being creative, right? The only reason they were there is so that I could look over their heads and have the cue as a what to say, right?
Right.
And when I got comfortable enough and familiar enough and I didn't need those, I didn't use them anymore. But you know, no one knows what you're doing except you, really, right? And how much and how well you explain. So yeah, that's Harry, it's a great tip. There's nothing stopping you from, I mean, honestly, when I took you through the PowerPoint slides, right, we had that box in there, the answer, and then turn it into a how might. And that's something that Harry's basically, that's exactly what you were doing, right? And so it's perfectly fine. And we've added that into our training in our you know, when we're teaching challenge mapping, we've added that exactly for the same reason you do it, you were doing it, to help simplify and make clear how it works, right? So eliminate some confusion. Oh, we're out of time. Sorry.
we can squeak in one last question. Amanda just wanted to know, she wanted some clarification of the 3-3. Amanda, do you want to go off of mute?
Yeah, it was just a quick clarification. You know, when I had learned like what's stopping you, my understanding of it was that you do all the whys first and then all the what's stopping you. But here we kind of seem to bounce around a little bit. We kind of joked like if it's messy, it's okay. But I know in the beginning you had said to try to do 3 and 3, leading to the 6-legged spider talk. So what is best practice? Like, should we always try to get like a good layer, like a base layer of whys before moving on to what's stopping you, or is it okay to kind of ping back and forth on it?
My best practice is always to try to guide the energy of your clients, but don't restrict the creativity, the energy of your clients. So ideally you're pushing them, you're getting 3 across, the whys and what's stopping, but then you're, but what if they just they're just insistent on going, well, I capture it, but then I come back and say, and then, and if they are doing, why do we want to do this? Because, and it's all a straight line up and a straight line down. That gives me the ammunition I need to say, I'm now stepping in to, because you've hired me to help you think more creatively. And so I'm going to do that by getting us to put some branches on this tree, right? We've got a great trunk, but now we need to expand out, and you guys need to get into new areas. Frequently when someone says, well, boy, what we missed, and we didn't even talk about this important aspect of our problem. Yeah, because you guys were locked in, and I didn't know that there was this whole, you guys were so locked in, I didn't even know. But if I keep asking, if I'd been able to keep asking why, or what's stopping, what else is stopping, I would have done it. So that's, I could start with whys, I could start with what's stopping, depends on how generous sometimes what, I know these guys want to do what's stopping, but screw them. I know they need why, so I'm going to start with why. But other times what, let's make them happy. I'll start with the what's stopping. That's what they like, right? So, but the important thing is to do that at some point, right? But ideally for us, yeah, you're going to start them off by forcing them to think across categories, right away, just because it helps also just bring in that whole thing around. Hold on a second, let's defer judgment. Let's not assume that we already know. So I'm going to break up, I'm going to break up your thinking, and force you to consider it in different ways.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and I really like that tree. I like that tree metaphor of like the branches and the roots. That's really cool. Thank you.
No problem.
Tim, thank you so much. This has been a fantastic session. If only for all of the questions. Obviously, you've got us all thinking. You are a cup of brain coffee, getting us questioning and thinking, and I love that.
I just finished my coffee. There we go.
Yeah. This has been wonderful, and this is a session I think I'm going to be rewatching a couple times to find all of the nuances and dig in deeper.
And when you do, could you then tell me whether it was better or worse the second time? Usually it's like, what on earth is he talking about? Did he just say that? Rewind. Oh my God, did he just? That's my worst fear.
Is it stale bread or fine wine?
I know the time is up, but I have just yes or no, Tim. Is there a voting feature on your app? Yes or no?
There is.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. We don't have time for it. I know. I just needed to know that. We'll find out more later. Thank you.
Just click right on them and away we go.
Hits and highlights.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much for joining.
How is the app available?
I'm sorry?
Is the app available to us?
I have to talk to my it's a family business. I have to talk to my oldest brother who's I'm the process side, he's the business side. So but it should be available. But you can hear my lack of confidence in that, but it should be.
Tim, you could put your email in chat, and if people are interested, they can email you and find out.
Perfect. Let me.
And while he's doing that,
for the 5th time, this is the last thing.
This is just the start of the day. We have in about 25 minutes, Chris Kahn doing Enhancing Creative Process Through Understanding Work Styles. And then later on, Leo, I don't know if he's still on, doing Journey to the World of Possibility through Beginner's Mindset. And then tonight is the dance. Woo! But I do need to tell you the most exciting news. This is going out, especially to Harry Vardis. If you go and check your email, an email was sent out in the middle of the session. The links are up for rewatching. So
Yay.
Missy's got the links up for you to all rewatch, and we do have a chunk of hours in the afternoon that you can rewatch before you come back to the dance party tonight. But other than that, thank you so much, everyone who is here. Thank you, Wing Ray, for magic behind the scenes, and thank you, Tim, for magic in front.
Thank you guys. It's been it's always great to work with people at CPSI. So, and by the way, I'm available. You can tell I'm pretty interested in challenge mapping and all this stuff. If you want to follow up with me and just learn more, whatever else, you got my email. I'm always happy to set up a Zoom or meet up, whatever, and go through more stuff. So feel free to reach out.
Thank you.
And I've set the bar for everyone else later today to raise. Might not be a tough job, but do it anyway. All right,
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you.